Shalom, welcome to the Jewish View. My name is Rabbi Nachman Simon with the Chabad House of Delmar, together with my co-host Mark Ronich of Statewide News Service and jbiztechvalley.com.
Well, Rabbi Simon, you know, we love teachers and librarians on this show, and we have the director of the Schenectady Public Library, Karen Bradley, with us. And Karen, welcome to the Jewish View. It's the first time, so
I'm happy to be here.
Happy to
represent
Mark
Schenectady
must be
County.
looking for an A over here in his grammar school, in his high school report. But
I think that nurses, teachers, and librarians are the most overworked, underappreciated people.
We have a very rewarding profession, I have to say, librarians.
Yes, and you should be paid a lot more. So my vote for an increase.
we'll talk about a budget later.
Okay. So what is the most challenging part of your job?
Well, there are many challenges. Obviously, you mentioned finance, so we might as well just get to finance. Certainly, budgets are a big concern, really throughout the country, not just the state, but I'm part of a county library system. So Schenectady County has to live within the 2% tax cap that the governor and the legislature has. So that has really been a challenge for local governments to live within that, including school districts. We're in a very similar boat. So,
but when you say city, like in Albany, for example, it's a city of Albany. What was
yeah,
that?
we're a different form.
County?
We're funded by Schenectady County, so we're of different. And there's not too many county library systems in New York State, out in Erie County. So it's a different method of funding. Some libraries, vote on their budgets. It goes to the community to vote on them, and ours is funded by the county. So we receive a portion of this, tax.
It's voted by the voters in the county?
No, they elect our legislature, and they represent various parts of Schenectady County.
And it's rolled into the county budget.
It's rolled into the county budget. We're one department within the entire county of Schenectady.
Well, who decides how much if you get an increase? It's the legislators of Schenectady County.
Yes, our board of trustees works with me to prepare a budget that we propose. And it then goes through a process. So it goes up to our county manager and our finance commissioner, and they review each department's request each spring. And then what they do is then propose something then to the legislature for them to consider.
So what's your budget for the county library system?
For ours, it's a little over $5 million.
And how many libraries?
That's for city of Schenectady.
No, the entire
Really,
county.
the whole
I have
county is
9
$5
libraries.
9 in the whole county?
Yeah, there's 9 of us.
But you have more towns than you...
We have towns and villages.
Right, but so how do they... And some of the towns don't have a library?
No, they do. I have 9 libraries I'm in charge of.
Right.
The whole Schenectady County?
Yeah, the whole county.
So how many in the city? How many libraries in the city?
Within the city of Schenectady, I'm at the Central Library, which is the main library, and we are actually the central library for the entire Mohawk Valley. So we service actually the entire Mohawk Valley Library System.
Okay.
So we're downtown, so we're a major player. Then we have, we had 2 inner city ones up in the Hamilton Hill neighborhood. And the board decided to merge those 2 into one and to build a new one because each facility was very inadequate and couldn't meet the needs of the community. So they decided to merge and prepared a plan to build a new library. And unfortunately, the Hamilton Hill branch was located in the Carver Community Center. And they ran into difficulties and the Carver Center shut down. So we were abruptly told with a few days' notice, December of 2013, that we were done there. And so our plans are moving forward, and I'd like to talk about our new library. So that was 2. So we're now down to 1 in that area. Then over in the Mount Pleasant area of the city, we have an inner city branch there. And then we have our Woodlawn branch. The town of Rotterdam has a branch also. We're way out in Quaker, out in Duanesburg, very rural, a library there. The village of Scotia has a library. The town of Glenville has a library. The town of Niskayuna has a library. Make sure I didn't leave anybody out.
Well, that's why I'm wondering, Princetown?
The Quaker branch services that area. And some people in Princetown go to the Rotterdam branch, actually.
Okay.
That's
and
not far.
Delanson is in Schenectady County?
Delanson, yeah. So the one Quaker, depending where people.
So well, that's what I mean. Some towns do not have.
Well, there's some very small places that don't.
Right.
So like a Delanson and a Dwaynesburg.
Right. They don't have their
Because
own.
it's
They
very
gotta
rural.
rely-
There's not that many people that live there.
Okay. So they have to rely on going to Quaker Library.
Yeah. And a lot of people, depending where they work, too, often on their way home. We have a lot of people out that way that may work in downtown Schenectady, work at GE, work at one of the hospitals, or be a teacher, and they might stop, because it's convenient on their way out of work, to stop at one of our other branches. So.
Okay, is the
there's 9 of us.
the technology part a challenge for you? Are you all up to date with everything?
Technology is always a challenge. It wasn't something that was really regularly funded at all in the county budget, in fact. So we relied for many years on grants. And initially, when libraries first got into computers, there were all kinds of grants available for libraries to get into this. And then at a certain point, it's like your responsibility. It's like having a surgeon and not providing the scalpel for them to do their jobs. A computer is a tool that's essential in our world. We couldn't really function without it. But our board did advocate to have technology included in the county budget, and this past year it was. But we're always looking for grant funds for things. And in fact, we just secured a grant for our new branch that will be built from a local foundation for technology for that branch.
Do you have a library foundation where
no,
for
we
a fundraising
don't.
arm? No?
No, and that's been a big point of discussion with our Board of Trustees about a foundation. The county did charge them with raising $50,000 of revenue, which was something new they had never done. They're not professional fundraisers. They're very busy, dedicated people.
The board.
With other things.
Library
Our board, they're excellent. But I mean, they have full-time responsibilities. Right. They're involved in many organizations. And they did attempt this past year to raise, they had a fundraiser. It was a tremendous amount of work for them. And they did yield some money, but not $50,000.
So you're limited to 2% increase if you want more money from the county.
Yeah. And they do not want to exceed the tax cap, because that's, as you know, if you're taxpayers, that's not popular to go over that. So that's been, all local government is dealing with that.
But maybe you can take from some other agency, which I'm sure they'd appreciate.
Well, it's,
and
I think the challenge with government and within the county is so many things they do are mandated. So they have absolutely no choice. And we are like one of 2 things that are not mandated in Schenectady County. So much of what they're due is their hands are tied by things that by mandate they have to provide to people. And we are a very needy county.
Well, it's interesting.
The economic situation is, very significant.
Your state senator, Hugh Farley, is the
champion.
He
Mr.
is. Libraries.
We love him. He is a wonderful advocate for libraries. Lobby Day, if you were there and heard him speak, he's very impassioned for libraries. And libraries around the state are very grateful because he leads the charge for the funding and knows the value.
Right.
It's the one thing that really can touch the life of every member of a community. Others, you might use this service or that service, but we, from kind of cradle to grave, from infants to elders, and you could be a homeless street person and be standing next to somebody with, 3 or 4 advanced degrees and
the library brings everyone together.
Yeah,
right.
It's the kind of level playing field for people from all walks of life.
So when you need the money, why isn't Hugh Farley stepping up and saying,
He advocates for it. In fact, in the state, we got an additional $5 million.
For the whole state?
For the whole state.
Right. So how much
now,
of that?
and because every library is funded differently, so the addition of that aid doesn't particularly impact Schenectady Library, but it does at our system level.
Can you get $50,000 out of that $5 million?
Oh, that would be wonderful. But we're really happy because we're part of the Mohawk Valley Library System.
I guess
it's
not.
one system. So when the money flows into the system, and there's 2 types of aids
So
that we do get.
Okay.
We will. One is there's something called the CLDA aid that comes through the state. So that will help, I'm
Yeah.
sure. And that's because we are the central library. We get a certain amount of aid because we service all these other
Right.
community members. And then CBA aid, which is Central Book Aid. So we buy the nonfiction books for not just Schenectady, but the entire Mohawk Valley. And so there's money for books,
And how many
nonfiction only.
counties take in the entire Mohawk Valley Library
Well, I think
System?
there's about 5 different counties. It's pretty
5.
extensive, very rural.
So it's
It's like Fulton, Montgomery, Schoharie,
Schenectady,
Schenectady, and there's one other one.
Herkimer.
Yeah, Herkimer, I think.
Herkimer?
We're leaving one of them out. But yeah, it's a pretty large rural area. They're small. But some very significant libraries there. You know, the Gloversville Library was just in the New York Times about a great project that they're trying to, bring their building up to date. You know, it's
Yeah.
a Carnegie Library, and that was pretty exciting. So they're in the middle of a capital campaign there. So,
Okay, well-
but people have needs everywhere.
Yes, they do. It's not. It's not
But
easy.
technology is a challenge everywhere. We have the great digital divide in the city of Schenectady because there's many people that do not have access to the internet. And
But the
it's-
libraries can give that access,
Yep, free internet.
free internet.
Yeah, and so some people, people do have a smartphone. A lot of people. They may not have a computer in their house, but they do have a smartphone.
What about ebooks?
Very popular, and we've had a huge increase in that. So downloadable audiobooks or downloadable books has.
Do you find that people still like to hold a physical book?
Oh yeah, yeah. But there are advantages. We just started at our library system something called Zinio, which are downloadable periodicals. And so I have an iPad at home, a mini one, and so it's like I need to try that out, and it's been really great. And it's a system where if you click off, there are 55 titles. So if you click off which ones you want, so when the new issue of Newsweek comes, you get an email saying the next issue of Newsweek is here, and you just click and it downloads, and
How
it's
much
just
does
like
that
reading
cost?
it.
Is it free?
It's free. It's
And
free.
Zinio
So we
is-
pay an annual fee as part of our materials budget, but we buy periodicals too, print ones. You
Right,
know.
sure.
So it's ZINIO?
Yeah, ZINIO.
.com.
And I'm not sure if Albany Public may have it. Other library systems are beginning to get into that.
That's great.
And Albany Public, it's possible that in Upper Hudson they may have that service.
Do you
But
see
it's
a
been
future-
wonderful.
Do you see a future for the printable? Like you were just saying,
Always,
there's
always going to be print. So I think it's a mix of both worlds. I understand so many people travel today. So having ebooks available no matter where you are, you could be sitting in an airport delayed, for a day or two. You could be on vacation and it's rainy and you've run out of books. You have to pay extra fees in your luggage now, weight-wise. I know when we've gone on family vacations, we have a big canvas bag with all the books for everybody in the family. And it's hefty to haul them.
Now you all
So
need is a
you-
tabloid.
Yeah,
or
so
tablet. Yeah.
so most ebook people I know use both. They love books and they read books, but they also
Yeah.
use ebooks too. I know not that many people that are just one format. It's kind of
these
a
are all
mix.
free to the. people
Well,
in
we pay a
Schenectady.
fee. When we have to buy them just like a regular book.
Yeah.
In fact, there's been a big war in the publishing world over ebooks. Certain publishers are not making them available to libraries. So there's been a war in the publishing world going on with certain publishers. And the American Library Association has been working very hard, and they thought it might have sales go down of their print books, and but it's actually I think leveling out, and more people are coming to realize that this is the wave of the future, and there's business in both. People are buying the ebooks for libraries. Some you would only get 26 circulations, for example, and then the book would disappear, and then you'd have to go buy it again. But it's not that uncommon for a really popular book. I'm going to pick a James Patterson. I'm not just picking one very
or
well-known
John Grisham
person.
book.
Or a Grisham book.
Yeah.
When those go out of our Book Express, the 1-week copies go out, by 26 times out in people's hands, it's pretty
quick.
beat sometimes, and the spine is busted, and we probably have to get another one anyway. So there's, I think, value for people in having both. So there's downloadable music,
Right.
really every
So
format.
in 3 years, how do you see the Schenectady County Library System looking in 3 years?
Well, I think we are a very lean organization.
Right. Lean and mean.
Well, no, we're not
Lean
mean
and
at all.
nice. Lean and nice.
That's not libraries. No way. No.
Lean and not mean.
But we are lean. So each year in the state, they do kind of a per capita based on your population, and we're at $30 and some odd cents, where Albany Public is I think about $86. Bethlehem is in the 130 something range. Saratoga maybe 100. So we're a very lean organization, but I do see changes, more digital materials certainly, and there's value to be in the digital. Is you're not checking it in and out. Humans handling materials
Right.
getting lost, stolen, and storage of materials, the weeding of the materials out when things get old and outdated. So I do see changes, like our community changes a lot. So, it's always looking like what programming you do. You have to look at the dynamics of your community.
How long have you been in this position?
2.5 years.
Okay. In that time, well, I don't
And
know.
when I came in, the night I was appointed at the legislature was the night they cut $500,000 out of the library budget.
Oh, welcome
So
aboard.
that was it. Welcome aboard.
So,
Yeah,
so I don't know who
that was a huge challenge.
I don't know who your predecessor was, but
Andy Kolmatiski. Yeah,
Okay.
Andy was wonderful. He had a
when-
long career at the library.
during the Al Jasinski administration in the city, there was a big influx of Guyanese immigrants coming in.
Yes, yep.
Did you have to adjust the library to adapt to the language barriers between the immigrants from other countries? Or?
Speak English extremely well.
Better
So there
than
was
the
no
Americans?
language barriers at all. I mean,
Okay.
they've been really very active library users in our community, employed homeowners.
Right.
So no, I can't say. Maybe some reading, music, movie interest. Our Dwayne branch had a little bit more of like a Bollywood type film.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's certain materials what you might select
Okay.
for different branches. In fact, that's a challenge for us because each community is quite unique.
It is.
So
yeah.
what you buy for each branch is not the same across the city or across the county.
Right.
So
Very
there might be
interesting,
pockets out there that say, hey, Westerns are really popular out there. And,
Well-
cookbooks and craft books are popular over in this
That's
area.
interesting. So you're the buyer, though? I mean, if you...
Yeah,
that's
my
very
staff,
difficult.
I have one person primarily who buys the nonfiction for not just my 9 libraries, but the whole Mohawk Valley, the Central
5
Book
counties.
Aid.
Yeah. And you
And
mentioned
fiction
You
books.
mentioned Montgomery County. They have a large Hispanic population
Yes,
in
they do.
Amsterdam.
Yep, the
So you
Amsterdam
have
Public
to
Library we serve.
adjust to that.
So, yeah. And in fact, we have a very large Hispanic population in the city of
That's right,
Schenectady.
yeah.
We're very diverse, ethnically diverse. I believe the city school district, last I heard, was something unbelievable, like 62 different languages within the city.
Wow.
Very, very diverse
So
community.
how do you check on that through computers, like just even fiction? Seeing, when you're
To
sitting
buy-
to
to purchase
buy,
it?
like you say, cowboy books, Western works, fiction,
Yeah.
nonfiction. You
There's
look at
a-
like, oh, we see 10,000, we're taking out 5,000, we better get more.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of things that go into buying the books. Certainly, we have all our review ordering tools that are out in library land, with library journal, book list, the standard tools. And nowadays, with technology, this is one of the advances. So our book vendor, where we get like a 40% discount on books, and so they have taken that so that you could get a cart of books, of like reviewed books, and you could even put themes or topics together.
They pick it out for you.
And
sort of thing.
well, no, what they do is they pull like all the reviewed books together. So now I can go in and look at this book, and I can see every review of that book all right there on a digital thing. So I'm not having to pick up and down these different journals, and this one comes this week and this one comes next week, and well, what did this one say? What did that one say? Now I can go in and see, here's all the reviews of that book. And number one is you can click on it and it goes right to your catalog and tells you, do you already have it on order? Who else has ordered that book? And it goes right into your catalog. And we look to see, how did this author do before? How have his other or her other books been circulating in the past. So there's many different factors that go into actually ordering books.
And
It's
what about,
time
like,
intensive.
personally, you know, I've read about a book and said, you know, why should I pay for it? I'll just go to my
Oh, yeah,
library.
we have patron suggestions.
But a lot of times, a few times they've been rejected because they, well, it's an off publisher. It's like something they never heard before.
Well, we have done that. People make suggestions all the time, and we do a large number of those. We do purchase, and then there'll always be an odd book out there. With our limited means of purchasing, you do have to look at, will it have broad appeal? Is this appropriate to be in a public library? So we've had this is often people taking college courses in other places. And so with online courses today, and the cost of books in the academic world are astronomical. If you know anybody who's been to college recently, it's unbelievable what they pay in textbooks. So we have people coming in and asking, well, we're not going to buy an engineering textbook. We're not an engineering library. So that would not be anything that would have broad appeal in a public library. So we've had to turn down things. The challenge most libraries are facing are self-published books, and that's a challenge because, not reviewed. Some are dreadful, the grammar, they're poorly written books. I'm sure there's excellent ones also out there. So how do you sort that out? That's like the big thing right now. With bookstores too. People showing up at bookstores and with their pile of books and trying to get local bookstores to buy them. So that's a big challenge out there right now for us. How do you deal with all the self-publishing that's going on?
When you have a school librarian, that
We love
position
them.
is paid for by the school
That
district.
particular school district. So I live in the community of Scotia Glenville,
Yeah.
and we have a county library there, but my school library is there for all those folks. That's in part of that school budget.
Is there any way of doing like shared services where you could piggyback either your services off the school or the school off of yours?
Well, we do a lot of sharing in that we support our school districts tremendously in teachers because they have had very reduced book budgets. And I remember when I was on the school board in Scotia and we had some principals come to a budget presentation and they had maps from like 1950, like world maps, and we're asking for us for money, for that. I was like, oh my, the world has changed. These places don't even exist, and
That's right.
barriers have been broken, and the school districts have always had very slim budgets for children. So you can always tell a teacher at the circulation counter by the pile of books. You can measure them, and how big the pile of books. So when people talk about teachers and what are they paid and what do they do with their time, and on Saturdays or in evenings on their way from school, they're stopping by their local public library and getting supplemental materials.
But I know that like in the Schenectady City School District, the school librarian might have 3 schools.
They have multiple schools,
that they have to be responsible for. So it's like maybe in the morning at one school, the afternoon another school, either that or one day at one school, one
and
day
they've
at
had
another
reductions
school,
in the number of times students can come and see them.
Right.
In fact, our librarians have gone into schools and done outreach in city schools. Kayla, our youth librarian in the inner city area, and she's in very great demand. They love to have her come to the school.
So when the
to
schools
do outreach into
can't
the
afford
school.
the school librarian, and you can't afford as many librarians as you would like, is there any way to make this
Well,
this
we
marriage
can't
more
supplement the school district because we have all we can do to meet the needs of the city themselves and the families that are coming to us.
Okay.
And the children that come to us after school. So even our youth librarians, Kayla works at 3 branches. So we don't, all of our youth librarians are serving multiple branches, just like a school district.
Yeah.
But they do outreach.
So for example, if a school librarian needs extra income, would you pick up that school librarian for a few hours a week or
we
something?
do have some that we call they're subs. So they do come and work when we are on vacation, people are out sick. We do have school librarians that come and work evenings or on weekends for us. And so they're a great addition to our team.
And they're already cleared.
And they have summers off, so a lot of our
Right.
staff are off in the summer, and they.
You don't.
And
have
it's
to
great
go
to have,
find them.
great to have that kind of feedback for our staff.
So I can understand, when you work for a school district, you have to have certain clearances to make sure that you're not on certain bad lists and this sort of thing, and certifications are up to date and all that. So to go from a school into a public library situation is easier, I presume, than a public library position going into a school.
Not necessarily.
Because you still gotta do that
when we
background
hire new
check.
employees, they have to get fingerprinted
Yeah,
at the county. So it's somewhat similar.
it goes into that same data bank and.
Well, I don't know what I don't.
Okay. You
They
don't know
don't
what
make us
thing
aware what they
happens?
do with that.
Okay.
Once they get your prints,
And your
I'm not
tenure
sure
is,
of that.
more children, or I guess anybody, like you say, does make a difference who comes. Are more libraries having more enrollment, people coming in? You know
Yeah.
the
and-
numbers? Do you count numbers when the
Oh,
people, how many people?
Oh my gosh, yes. So I know exactly. I know how many new card holders. So I get an annual report. What's great about technology is that it's a good way of keeping statistics. So we are able to see how many at each branch, how many new cards were issued. And so ours each year are going up and up and up of new card holders.
good to
So that's
know.
part of an annual report that we get. And I can do it by branch. I could do it by month. You could track it that way if you wanted to.
Because now, in the few minutes we have left, can you talk about the new branch that you're?
Yes,
in the
well, that's
building?
very exciting.
Yeah.
So it's going to have an intense literacy focus. So if you've read anything in the paper, heard in the news
Tell
about
us.
City of Schenectady, school district is struggling to meet the needs of the students. Their students are very, very needy. It's a high level of poverty in a certain portion of the city. And so we are working closely with the school district. So the merging of these two inner city branch to a new branch on State Street, right on the bus line, and it's going out to bid tomorrow, in fact. We'll open the bids at the end of the month and slate for construction, hopefully to start later in May for it and open by the new year. And it will we're working with a group of partners, literacy partners, to have a real intense early literacy focus in particular, because literacy, it really starts kind of at birth and infancy. And children that are raised in poverty, they are far back. So if you even looked at an MRI of an infant's brain, if you take a child that's been in a home where a lot of activity, music, play, stories, reading has happened, the difference in a child that grows up in an environment that's somewhat sterile and doesn't have any of that. The word deficit by the time they're 3, 4, and 5 is tremendous. They're far
the brain
behind their
development
peers.
is much
The
greater.
brain development, yeah. So
in a
reaching
child
out,
is-
so we're working with early literacy partners to develop a program with this intense focus. But literacy in all its forms to strengthen families in the community. So that's
And-
financial literacy, digital literacy, health literacy.
How much is the library going to cost, approximately, do you expect it to cost?
It's probably
take.
going to come in, I'm going to guess it could be between 1.2 and 1.4 million dollars.
And it'll be a green type of library?
Yep.
Where you're going to have geothermal energy or?
I don't know if it's geothermal, but yeah, the energy
Okay.
has
And
was
where on-
nicer to
where on State Street is this? gonna be?
Well, it's where the old flea market was. It burned down. There's an empty lot across from Friendship House. I'm trying to think what else you might know that's in that area.
Just the name of the cross street. But is it near Brandywine? Is it?
It's a little below Brandywine.
It's below Brandywine. Okay.
Yeah, so but not far below Brandywine.
Okay, that's the
Brandywine.
major intersection
Yeah,
that's nearby. Okay.
yeah,
So
a couple
we have
blocks
a-
below
That's
there.
going to be the main library in Schenectady then? I mean, that's
No.
No,
very
well, that in the inner
centralized.
city.
Just a new
So we're
library.
taking two inner city
right.
that are very small, no program space really available for
Right.
children, and they're not handicapped accessible facilities. So this will be a state-of-the-art facility.
Right. Okay.
And so we're excited about that. There'll be a program room, a community room where we can have
Quiet-
all kinds of programs.
Quiet rooms for
Not a
study?
separate quiet room.
No?
No.
I like those.
Yeah, well, we're fortunate at the Central Library. We do have that
Yes,
upstairs 2 rooms.
and I like that,
And
yes.
that it is nice. But yeah, libraries aren't quiet places anymore. They're vibrant places, you know.
Yeah, no, I know.
And people all over, kind of quietly working on laptops all over. You know, people
Are you
bring their laptops
so
in.
the outlets to plug in a laptop and
Yeah.
and you're going to have it Wi-Fi? Do you have to have a hardwire to?
Nope, we're just wireless. You
And
don't
then-
need a password or anything. You just flip your thing on and off
And this
you
will
go.
be in the new library also.
Yeah. All of our libraries have it, actually.
What other new and exciting things?
Even
are
out
you-
in Quaker. I mean, they don't have any
Even
kind
out
of...
in Quaker.
Well, I mean, Quaker, they don't have
I know.
cable out there.
I know.
And people will come. If you go by there on a Sunday afternoon, you'll see people sitting in our parking lot with their
waiting.
computers in the car.
Oh.
Because they don't have cable. I mean, can you imagine? I mean, I can't imagine it,
That's
not
amazing.
having it.
Yeah.
But
So-
in the rural area.
So what? When you see this, is it going to be like a big modern building, or is it going to be?
It's
the
modern.
square?
It's one story,
Oh,
about 5,000 square feet.
Yeah.
In fact, we have to go next week to pick out some of
Okay.
the pretty stuff, you know,
Yeah.
the rug, the flooring kind of thing. But
The
no, it'll be a
fashion.
state-of-the-art, modern facility, all brand new. Everything will be new.
And
We'll
what-
have a new startup collection of materials for there. We'll be getting community input.
I can't wait to go to
On
the
that.
ribbon cutting.
So, yeah, well, I'll let you know when that's going to
Okay.
be.
I also want to. Is there something we didn't talk about that you wanted to bring up?
No, I just think libraries are loved by all people. It's like mom and apple pie, but because I think people come to us, well, you wouldn't imagine what people come to us for, all sorts of things and information. And we answer our phones, which is
Okay.
nice, people calling for information. So people say, hey, there's the internet, couldn't you just go Google it? Or there's like a bazillion things on Google, you
Right.
know. But
Okay.
All right, we're
It's
out of
great.
time, but it was
Yeah,
really,
thank
you're
you for-
doing a lot of good work
yeah,
over here.
and thanks for your
Continue
interest in
success.
libraries.
Yeah. Much success to you.
Thank you.